will be largely around discussion and debate. So if you don't mind moving to the central block of seats, and if you could come towards the front, I think that would be quite helpful. Thank you. We'll start in a couple of minutes.
Malcolm, perhaps you ought to mention that I'm videoing the meeting. Perhaps you ought to mention that I'm videoing the meeting, and I'll edit out anybody who doesn't want to be videoed.
Just a point of order for the meeting. We are proposing to make a video of the meeting, of contributions. If anyone does not wish to be included in that, then if you could just have a word with Peter Murray, who's down on your left there, and you'll be carefully edited out of the final video. Is that okay?
Yes, it's going to be put on a website.
It will. The intention is that an edited and agreed version of the video will be put on a website, a Green Left website. Yes, I think I'm right in saying that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a public website.
Yes. Okay. Let's make a start then. So the title of this range is "Can Greens Work with Labour?" And clearly this has been sparked off by, in particular, recent changes in the Labour Party with the election of Jeremy Corbyn as the leader, which has really transformed the political situation within the Labour Party, and this has had an impact elsewhere as well. The structure of the meeting will be that I'll introduce in a moment Peter Allen. Peter Allen is currently the treasurer of Green Left, and Peter is a former member of the Labour Party, if I can say. And Peter will just do an introduction to the topic. I will follow that up with my own sort of personal comments, also as a former member of the Labour Party before I joined the Green Party, and then the main bulk of the meeting will be an open discussion, contributions from the floor on whatever you wish really to contribute. And then towards it, we'll try to end around about 3:15, 3:30, 3:15 if possible, and we'll try to pull together the various comments and points, and Peter will do an overall summary at the end of what we've been talking about. So first of all, then, to get things moving, I'll hand over to my Green Left colleague, Peter Allen, to say a few words.
Yeah, actually, coming back to leaving Labour, it might make quite a nice little parlour game, like an end of conference game. We could probably go round here. There's probably a lot of us here used to be Labour Party. What finally made you leave? But for me, I remember it very, very clearly. I actually left in the period which is considered, with the benefit of hindsight, to have been a bit of a positive period for what was definitely New Labour. But when John Smith, as it was, had coined the conference slogan, "Labour's good for business," that was actually the moment that I had to actually leave. So that was particularly me. But actually, I'm a bit off message, because I'm actually talking about, I'm actually of the opinion that we have got some benefits of working with Labour, so perhaps I shouldn't be too hard on them. Actually, it's always a good place to start with Caroline Lucas. When most things to do with the Green Party, it's actually a good place to start, isn't it, with Caroline Lucas. And I want to go back to Caroline's contribution, which surprised me at the time, but she's firmed it up and been very clear about it since. She made a contribution at a Compass conference, which was held, I think, a couple of weeks after the general election. And it was all about bringing the left together, or talking about the left possibly working together. And it was well before Jeremy Corbyn. But Caroline said, and I wrote it down because I was quite taken by what she said. She said there were obviously cogent reasons why voters had turned away from Labour. The election was dominated by the politics of fear. There was inconsistency in Labour's message. The Labour Party allowed the debate to become a technical one rather than a political one. And of course, on top of that, there was a central factor, which was an unfair electoral system, which obviously was a very bad thing for the Green Party. Caroline said, we need to be looking at other ways of organising among what she referred to as progressives to avoid competing against each other. She said, and this was a personal view, and as I say, I think she's elaborated on this since. She said perhaps there should be a range of electoral pacts between progressives, agreed perhaps at a local level.
Yes, I know.
She actually said that she would be in favour of an alliance to stand a single candidate in favour of electoral reform, followed by, at the next election, 2020, that would be something that she would like to see in place. A single candidate in each constituency, basically standing against the Tories and in favour of electoral reform. She certainly wasn't including UKIP, but a central candidate of the progressive side of politics. I think she was including the Liberal Democrats, but she was talking about it being agreed locally by local pacts with an aim of having a single candidate, and the central programme of that new government would be to change the electoral system and then hold a new election under PR. So that was Caroline back in May or early June last year, and it was certainly something that I was struck by and something that I agree with. What she actually said, and this is a direct quote, unless we work out a way of working together, then the grounds for radical hope, the conference is called Radical Hope, the grounds for radical hope will be much diminished. More recently, at the end of January this year, she said in the New Statesman on the 29th of January, I want to see a realignment of the left. Whether that requires a Labour split remains to be seen, but it does mean that those of us who share progressive values need to find ways to work outside of the rigid party system to present a viable alternative to the Tories at the next election. In the short term, I would argue that we should seriously consider electoral pacts in the next election with a guarantee that progressive government would introduce a fairer voting system as a priority. Okay, so I was reflecting on that. I was thinking about because Caroline was stressing the importance of it being bottom-up, locally led. But I was thinking about the situation in my own area. I live in High Peak, which is a marginal seat that usually goes with the way of the government. When we had a Labour government, we had a Labour MP. Since we've got the Tories back, we've had a Tory MP. And it was a marginal seat at the last election. And in High Peak, I know that there's quite a big Labour Party. And it's a Labour Party that has actually been transformed in terms of numbers since the surge of Jeremy Corbyn. It was actually a Labour Party that was featured in an article in The Guardian where the leading activist in the Labour Party, who I actually know quite well, talked about a quadrupling of members. I think they've gone up to 4,000 members. And he was saying that, it was a combination of people returning from who've been in Labour before and younger people joining as part of the Corbyn initiative. And actually, as I'm going to talk more about the Labour Party, make more to the Labour people in Glossop, particularly, which is a part of the High Peak, and we actually organised a joint initiative to go on the People's March at the Tory conference. I don't know if anybody came up to that. People who were in the north, probably a lot of you did. There was quite a huge march in Manchester, about 10 miles from Glossop, 12 miles from Glossop, so a short train journey from Glossop, and we worked with the Labour Party and the Labour Club. The Labour Club is independent of the Labour Party and made up really of largely people that the committee members are largely people who used to be in the Labour Party and left for the right reasons. like I did. Anyway, we worked with the Labour Party and the Labour Club, and we actually mobilised 100 people on Piccadilly Station to walk together to the start of the march. Now, probably the majority of those were actually Labour supporters, but there were a lot of Greens, but we walked collectively from Piccadilly Station behind homemade banners and banners that said end to austerity, etc., to join the march on Oxford Road. And actually that was quite a thrill for me. If we had the screen up, I would show you, because I can't really do it justice on my iPad, but the Labour Club have a rather brilliant banner, which is the work across at the Labour Club. Anybody can see it, but it says Glossop Labour Club, real ale, real music, and real socialism. So we marched behind that. So that was a joy. Okay, so coming back to Labour and Glossop and IP, and it seems to me, and I think this is true of the Labour Party generally, that there's actually three factions in the Labour Party, not two. There's the Blairites, and they're largely gone from the ranks of Labour Party members. There's been a couple of papers and a couple of studies done that show that actually most of the proper Blairites have left the party, except those that are still in Parliament. So there's a rump of Blairites in Parliament who don't actually have much of a debate in the constituency. There's a whole load of people who've come in on the left, but actually there's an awful lot of people in the middle who've stuck with Labour. And quite a lot of those are quite sceptical about Jeremy Corbyn. Quite a lot of them didn't vote for Jeremy Corbyn, in my experience, and on the basis of my discussions with the local party in the area that I live in. But they may have voted for Andy Burnham often, and they were a bit sceptical about Jeremy Corbyn. They're also a bit worried about his electability. But those people are socialists or social democrats. They are of the left. They are against the Tories, and we can work with them. And that would certainly be my contention in Glossop, in Highgate. And I think that's certainly my view, is Caroline's view. We have an opportunity to work with Labour immediately, don't we, in the European referendum. Green Party signed up to the IN campaign. We're, I think, associated with, or Caroline's appeared on a few pictures of Stronger in Europe, which is the broad business-backed IN campaign. But actually, we've also initiated, I was talking to Amelia just before earlier today, and she said that she and a friend, literally one friend, I think, from the Labour Party, were centrally involved in setting up the Alternative IN campaign, which is an alternative Europe is possible. That's right, you've probably seen the banner in the main hall. So that's essentially a Green Party initiated campaign, and that's trying to get up and running. It's got some trade union support, and I would certainly encourage people to consider making links with Labour and other progressives in their areas to perhaps launch and run meetings and do some campaigning on Europe in the run-up to the referendum. And that may or may not include the Liberal Democrats, who are also very much in favour of Europe. My view of the Liberal Democrats has actually changed. And the Liberal Democrats, in the last period of the Blair government, the Liberal Democrats were actually quite a poll for quite a lot of people on the left. And quite a lot of people on the left joined the Liberal Democrats. They should have joined the Green Party, but a lot of them joined the Liberal Democrats. And actually those people, I think, were picked sick when the Liberal Democrats went into coalition with the Tory government. And, whilst they were in the coalition with the Tory government, as far as I was concerned, they would be on the pale, wouldn't be any possibility of working with them, either locally or at a national level. They were pariahs. But they've actually lost their pariah status since they've come out of coalition, even though they would love to, even though the leadership of the Liberal Democrats would love to have stayed in it. So I think maybe we could include the Liberal Democrats too. So I think the scope for working with Labour. I think I agree with Caroline's analysis of the centrality of electoral reform and the fact that the left needs to have a means of getting it after the 2020 election. I think there's an opportunity to work at the European level in the run-up to the referendum, and I think let me just say one final thing. The meeting is about the Labour Party. Can Greens work with the Labour Party? Well, of course, the Labour Party is part of what used to be called, or still is, the Labour movement, and the Labour movement rests on the trade unions. Now, the Green Party essentially has recognised the central importance of trade unions. We've got a Green Party trade union campaign, which has got apparently only 200 odd members, although just about everybody in the Green Party supports trade unions and saying it's a free thing. So why don't you check that website out and go on that link? Well, positive note to end on. Perhaps the most dynamic section of the Green Party are the Young Greens. And at our thinly attended meeting last night of the Green Party trade union group at EGM, there were only about 30 or 40 people there, but more than half of them were Young Greens. In fact, a large number of them were significant people in the Young Greens, some of whom were doing the quiz later. So actually, Young Greens recognise the importance of trade unions and the labour movement and others, and that's a very good sign. A very good sign for him. And can I just say one final thing, which is that the trade union group, the Green Party, has been single-handedly held together in difficult times by Pete Murray, and he's standing down after many years. So don't give a round of applause to Mark. Give a round of applause.
Well, thank you very much, Peter, for some interesting thoughts there and comments which I'm sure people can pick up on during the course of our debate. I'll just have a very brief couple of sort of personal comments and then hand it over to general discussion. I was a member of the Labour Party for many years. I was a Labour county councillor in Bedfordshire for 12 years and the education spokesperson. I left the Labour Party when the sort of Blair-Brown-Mandelson project began to get underway. I joined the Green Party 10 years ago. I couldn't consider myself now, imagine myself now, to be a member of the Labour Party. A couple of points really. One is that, in my experience, by and large, most sections of the Labour Party don't understand the environmental crisis that we're facing. There is discussion, there's some grasp of it, but even within CERA, the Socialist Education and Research Organisation, from what I can see, they don't get a grip on the environmental crisis that we in the Green Party most certainly do. And the other issue I have really with working with Labour is that I'm not sure what we're working with, because the Labour Party at the moment is in a massive state of turmoil and change. Corbyn is the leader now. He has got tremendous support from the new members in the grassroots, but as you know, there's many Labour MPs do not support him, and there's no telling really where the Labour Party is going to go. It's in a state of change and flux, and we're not really sure what we're working with or how it could change. But and picking up a couple of points that Peter made, we need, considering possibilities of working with Labour, we need to think about the different levels at which this could be done. I mean, obviously one area is campaign work, where we find ourselves on maybe single issue campaigns, campaigning alongside members of other parties, including the Labour Party. And there could be cooperation or discussion at a local level, perhaps an individual level, in a very informal way, and then it could move right up to possibility of electoral pacts, electoral arrangements of one sort or another. So my personal viewpoint is one of being, while welcoming discussion and support with anyone outside of the Green Party who has got some idea of what we're about and is willing to work with us in a cooperative way, I'm very sceptical about the practical possibilities of working with Labour at the moment, and I'm sceptical about whether, in fact, the Labour Party really would want to work with us or see us as significant partners. That's a personal viewpoint. I'd like now to open it up to the floor, and I think we have a microphone. Yeah, we have a roving microphone, so if you could indicate by putting your hand up. Now, I'll try to call you in some sort of order. So, first of all,